The film begins with a young lady named Gwen. She shows up at an inn to go after a low-pressure job, where the proprietor is Teddy. Teddy needs somebody to work the night shift at the inn. After entering the inn, Gwen finds the meeting room unfilled. The lodging was in an abandoned area and had not many visitors. Gwen was getting frightened here. She begins searching for Teddy in this inn and abruptly, somebody comes before her. Seeing whom she shouts. The other individual likewise shouts and figures out that it was Teddy. Teddy and Gwen discuss the work and Gwen says, "Unwind, I'm knowledgeable about this work, I will deal with everything." Teddy takes her to the inn and, while showing her the storeroom, makes reference to that the lock on the entryway is broken. At the point when she opens the storeroom, she should keep the block. In any case, in the event that it gets locked, she will be stuck here. The lock just opens from an external perspective. While leaving the storeroom, Gwen sees a great deal of vehicles in the inn's carport. She can't figure out whether they are harmed or just deserted there. She thought perhaps there was a mishap here or this spot was spooky. There was likewise a pool in this inn which was in an exceptionally terrible condition now. Teddy says last year, there was a major opening in this pool. A ton of exertion was made to fix it yet it was not filled, that is the reason the pool is as yet shut. In the wake of visiting the inn, Teddy says, "Okay, I have some work, I'm leaving. In the event that you are ravenous, take this menu, there is an inn close by, you can arrange food from that point." At the point when he was leaving, Gwen says, "Give me a weapon." Teddy pivots and asks, "What do you really want a weapon for?" Assuming you think this lodging is spooky or something to that effect, you will scarcely believe, there is nothing similar to that here. I have been running this inn for a long time. According to Gwen, I'm separated from everyone else here. Anything could happen to me. I ought to have a weapon. According to Teddy, you can call the police yet Gwen demands no, I simply need a weapon, since it requires over 30 minutes for the police to come here. According to Teddy, okay, there is a blade and hatchet behind you. On the off chance that something like this happens to you, use it and kill your foes. In any case, he was simply joking. Presently he quits fooling around and shares with Gwen, "Tune in, I have no foes and everything is good to go. In the event that you see any issue, you can call me." After Teddy's takeoff, Gwen visits this lodging once more and sees enormous rodents in this inn. There was just a single visitor in this inn where Gwen thumps. She really needed to inquire as to whether she wanted nothing. As Gwen thumped, the entryway opened and Gwen tracked down a weird young lady there. Her hands were red, she didn't actually open the entire entryway, don't have the foggiest idea what was happening inside. Gwen gets some information about something, however at that point shakes her head, says no, and shuts the entryway. From that point onward, Gwen goes to tidy up a room and she saw a vehicle outside the inn from the window. It appeared to be that the individual sitting in the vehicle was checking Gwen out. At any rate, disregarding this, she returns to the gathering. She was eager now, so she requested food when unexpectedly, she got a call from room 13. There was nobody in room 13. Being terrified when Gwen got the call, she heard a lady snickering from behind. Gwen got terrified and put the telephone down. Gwen needed to realize who was in room 13. Dreading the most horrendously terrible, she went outside the room 13 with a blade. Moving inside, we didn't see anybody, however Gwen felt as though somebody was following her. Apprehensive, she got a telephone and out of nowhere, a shadow comes behind her. Showing genuine face, shadow says in Gwen's ears, "It's for you." Hearing this, Gwen gets terrified. She frenzies and surges out of the room in no time. The young lady in room 6 named Alice saw Gwen. Seeing her terrified, she asked her, "Would you say you are all right?" Gwen gestured in understanding. We figured out that Alice was a decent young lady. The hands we saw before her were not red from blood, but rather she was coloring her hair. Her room's hairdryer was broken. She just came to Gwen to get it traded. Gwen takes her to the storeroom and missteps the same way she shouldn't have made. She didn't place the block before the entryway and the entryway got locked. Gwen and Alice got frightened. Gwen told her that now she will actually want to open it in the first part of the day since Teddy will come in the first part of the day. Unexpectedly, Alice understood that somebody contacted her shoulder, however she sees it was a major rodent. At the point when Alice felt this, she turned out to be considerably more frightened and shouted. She was sickened by the rodent. She told Gwen, "You are so reckless, my telephone is in the room, presently don't have the foggiest idea how will we respond." Unexpectedly, a man emerged from the storeroom. Gwen got terrified when she saw him, thinking it was a similar person who had been watching her from the vehicle, yet it was uncovered here that he was really a conveyanceman who brought Gwen's food. They were fortunate that is the reason he arrived at on time and opened the entryway from outside. From that point onward, these two young ladies inhaled a moan of help, they eat together and converse with one another. Alice recounts to Gwen her story that she had a battle with her mother. That is the reason she went out and came here. The following morning, her beau will come to get her and she will leave. Hearing her, Gwen encourages Alice that she ought to return to her mother. Family is a major gift. Alice mulls over everything and Gwen gets up and goes to get some R&R. At the point when she went out, she saw that the vehicle she saw before was still external the inn. Furthermore, somebody was all the while watching Gwen. From the get-go, it could have quite recently been Gwen's doubt, however presently she was sure that somebody was watching her. She frenzies and enters the inn, the jugs drop from her hands. Alice asks what occurred and offers to assist Gwen with tidying up the glass from the beginning yet. Gwen chides her and advises her to disappear. Alice felt terrible, however she disappeared in light of the fact that she could grasp Gwen's state of mind. After some time, Gwen is on her obligation once more. A 2 or 3 comes here to take a room. This couple was exceptionally discourteous and gotten into mischief with Gwen, so she charged them for the entire night rather than 60 minutes. Despite the fact that they simply need the space for 60 minutes. In the interim, this person goes to his room, throwing cash at Gwen's face all evening long. Gwen really thought that they were sitting in the vehicle. That is the reason she goes to their space to really take a look at them. Here, they were hanging out. The young lady additionally felt that somebody was watching them. As she emerged from the room, Gwen took cover behind a vehicle. As she returns to her room, Gwen leaves. At the point when she passed close to the pool, she felt that something was moving in the pool. As she goes close to the pool, the stand of the pool breaks and she falls into the pool. At the point when she falls into the pool, a lady emerges from the pit who gets Gwen and maneuvers her into the pool. It was anything but a lady, however a phantom. Gwen likewise began shouting boisterously to see it. Alice heard her shouting and came to help her. Alice hauled her out of the pool some way or another and asked, "What did you find in the pool?" That's what Gwen believed. Assuming she came clean, Alice would think she was insane. That is the reason she tells Alice, "Nothing, I just slipped into the pool." Alice and Gwen both come to the room. Furthermore, Alice asks Gwen once again, "Tell me, what did you find in the pool? Don't you realize that this spot is spooky?" Hearing this, Gwen's face turned pale since she didn't have the foggiest idea about reality with regards to this spot. Alice tells Gwen, "Indeed, numerous renowned tales about this spot. That is the reason I came here, since I realized that nobody will come here searching for me." Gwen was paying attention to Alice unknowingly. Inside, she was lashing out. For what reason did Teddy mislead her? For what reason didn't Teddy come clean with her that this spot is spooky? Presently Gwen began trusting that assuming she tells Alice something, she won't consider her crazy. The fact that the couple additionally left makes it shown. Gwen tells Alice, "Since I came here, something abnormal is occurring to me. I saw a vehicle outside the inn 2 times, I think it came after me." Alice asks, "For what reason do you believe that vehicle is after you?" Gwen begins recounting her story and says, "When I was extremely youthful, a man named Walter went into our home. He severely killed my mother and my sisters, however fortunately, I got away. I took off from that point and afterward that maniac was shipped off a psychological haven." Gwen tells her that I figured out that 2 days prior he took off from the psychological shelter. Presently he's after me as though he needs to kill me, and from that point forward, his motivation will be satisfied. Gwen had her mother's accessory. Gwen says the day my mother passed on, this jewelry likewise vanished with her also. Presently 2 days prior, I tracked down this in the post box. I believe that executioner took this jewelry, and presently sending it to the post box is an admonition for me. Alice feels extremely bothered subsequent to hearing her story, and simultaneously, she is likewise frightened. She lets Gwen know that you ought to promptly educate the police regarding this, yet Gwen says, "No, I can't do that. Since I just uncertainty this vehicle I don't accept, and based on uncertainty, I cannot tell the police anything." Presently Gwen had concluded that she would leave from here. Before passing on, she advises Alice to close her entryway and leave from here when it is morning. According to Alice, "Indeed, I will leave. I pondered your words and I understood that my mother loves me without question. I will return to her when it is morning and I will likewise apologize to her." Prior to leaving, Gwen goes to the gathering to get her things, where she sees a phantom of somebody in the CCTV. Unexpectedly, a similar phantom followed her. Seeing this, Gwen gets terrified and calls Teddy from the inn telephone, beginning to direct unforgiving sentiments toward him. She chastened him by saying, "For what reason didn't you let me know that this spot is spooky? Assuming you had told me before, I couldn't have ever come at this very moment. I'm leaving from here. I won't remain here." Briefly, Teddy attempts to quiet her down and says, I've been running this inn for such countless years. How is it that it could be that I couldn't say whether it's spooky or not? Unwind, I'll come over in some time, Teddy says. After Gwen detaches the call, Amund strolls into the inn. He looked good from outside, yet the manner in which he was taking a gander at Gwen was extremely peculiar. He asks Gwen for a room. Gwen gives him a room in return for cash. However, she thinks that he is a similar man who killed her mother and sisters. As Gwen goes to show him the room, she harms this man with her blade since she thought him an executioner. However, in the story, the greatest bend is uncovered. That the individual she believed was an executioner was not an executioner but rather a specialist. It was Gwen's primary care physician. There wasn't any executioner, Gwen herself was the executioner. Truly, Gwen was a maniac and had been kept in a psychological medical clinic. 2 days prior, Gwen took off from that point, and quite a while back, she killed her mother and sisters, yet she never trusted it. She just accepted the story which she had made up in her brain. The phantoms she was seeing here were only her deceptions. This spot was not spooky. The specialist came to get Gwen in light of the fact that he knew how hazardous Gwen was. Around then, there were 2 attendants with the specialist whom Gwen killed barbarously. Alice heard the sound of strides. She likewise emerged from her room, since she realized that somebody planned to go after Gwen. To save Gwen's life, as she goes into another room, she sees another person's body rather than Gwen's. It was the body of the specialist, whose tongue had been removed and disposed of, and this was finished by Gwen. Gwen was not in her detects. Alice was additionally extremely frightened of her. Here, Alice, confounded and stressed subsequent to seeing everything, was not allowed an opportunity to take off by Gwen, who killed her brutally. The proprietor of the inn, Teddy, shows up. Be that as it may, Gwen doesn't extra him. Before he can enter the inn, she goes after him savagely and kills him. The scene slices to half a month after the fact, uncovering that Gwen has now turned into the proprietor of the inn. She has likewise redesigned this inn well indeed. A visitor comes to Gwen's inn for booking. Gwen invites her energetically. However, someplace on the mass of the inn, a blood image is shown, filling in as an advance notice sign that whoever came to Gwen's inn, Gwen would kill him. Gwen would now kill her new client with whom she was talking, finishing up the story.